Fixed mindset or growth mindset? What do you think? Welcome to another Mindset Breakthrough Days with Sandra Bravo in Gold Coast of Australia, thanks to Success Resources and Tony Robbins. And today I'm excited to talk to you about what the difference is between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Have you ever heard of it? Let me know in the chat. Let me know your name, where you're watching from, whether you're joining us live or whether you are catching the replay of this. Perhaps you're in Europe or in Asia, Australia, America. I don't know. Let us know because I love to get to know you. And I'm excited. I just came back from playing a tennis game with my daughter, Alana. She does distance education. Thank God. So, which is kind of like, it's not homeschooling. It's a private school that is virtual. And they have the systems down, and they've been doing it for, the school has been doing it for 8 years. Alana just started doing it, and it's been amazing. She's happy. She loves it. She's getting straight A's. She's ahead of the game, and I love it too. As long as she's on track every Friday, the school lets her organize her own time, her own subjects, and everything, as long as she is tracking where she should be every Friday. And you know what? I think it's such a fantastic skill to give to her right now. She's only 13 years old, which means she's in year 8. I don't know how you call it in your country. That means in Mexico, that would be a second year of secondary school. In America, I think that's, I don't know if that's middle school. And anyway, basically year 8, right? And or second year of high school, they call it, depending on the system that you have in your country. But it's really interesting. I was actually reading this morning that they have done some research at Harvard University, and they have done this research on kids when they first start school in year 1. And 80% of them have really high self-esteem, right? They're kids that have been touched and loved and given attention, and they've had a structure at home. And then by the time they do the same research, when they're in year 5 years later, when they're in year 5 of primary school, only 20% of the kids have a high level of self-esteem. So the other 60% have already lost their self-esteem in those first 5 years at school. And when they ask the teachers whose responsibility it is to take care of the kids' self-esteem or to teach them how to protect their self-esteem, the teachers, 79% of the teachers said that's a parent's responsibility. When they asked the parents, 72% of the parents said that's a teacher's responsibility. And so what does that tell you? That tells you, my friend, whatever you're watching from in the world, that you need to take care of your self-esteem because no one else is going to do it for you. And if you didn't grow up as a child in an environment that was loving, where there was a lot of physical affection, where there was a lot of nurturing and structure, because the structure, believe it or not, makes kids feel safe, which protects their level of self-esteem. So if you were not fortunate enough to have all of that as you were growing as a child, now it's time to parent yourself, to take care of your own self-esteem, to give yourself all that self-love, all that self-talk, positive self-talk, and all those cuddles and, mirror work and all of that to raise your level of self-esteem. Because sadly, around the world, 2 out of 3 people have a really bad, low self-esteem. So if you look to your right, if you look to your left, one of those 3 of you is going to have a healthy self-esteem. The other 2 are not. So who is that going to be? And when you think about it, I mean, when I heard that, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad my daughter Alana is doing a distance education or, virtual school or homeschool, however you want to call it, because she just wasn't happy at school anymore. And this is the thing, that the junior school, we loved it. I think it was run beautifully. Things were run a little differently in the senior school. And, when you go to school, you have to put up with the bullies, and the bullies are not always just the kids. They can be the teachers too, because those teachers also weren't given the level of self-esteem that they needed when they were kids, and they don't know what to do themselves, and the minute that they don't like a kid or vice versa. The point of this is you got to take care of your own self-esteem. You got to be in charge because no one else is going to do it for you. But for me, I just felt like, you know what, I'm so blessed because the fact that Alana is doing distance education from home means she chooses the friends that she wants to spend time with, which means she's not forced to tolerate kids that are not nice or that are bullies or whatever, right? And she doesn't have to go to school and be surrounded by hundreds of kids and teachers that may not be supportive of her self-esteem. So what does that do? That removes a lot of the anxiety that goes on at the schools, especially in those middle years between, age of 10 and 18, perhaps, which is when kids experience the highest level of stress in their lives. It is scientifically proven that between the age 13, which is, and the age of 18 is when you experience the highest level of stress in your life. Not as a kid, not as an adult. You might think that we get a lot of stress as an adult, running your business and all of juggling all these different hats. But believe it or not, it's actually the kids between 13 and 18 years old that their bodies produce the highest amount of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which is why teenagers require a lot more sleep, because when they're sleeping is the only time where they put to sleep that the releasing of that cortisol hormone, the stress hormone, so that they can replenish and feel good again. And I just thought, how fantastic, because doing distance education from home means she has time to do 5 different sports. She's doing tennis and beach volleyball and touch and playing golf with me. And she's into different touch teams. And she has the time to do it, which normally with traditional school, you don't, because by the time you get back from school or after school activities that are still from school, you're exhausted, you have all this homework, etc. But she knocks off her schoolwork in 4 hours every day, and then she has all the spare time. She gets to see the friends that she likes to hang out with. She gets to do 5 different sports. We get to have a lot of quality time. Some days I'll be like, hey, let's just drive to the country club, or let's just drive to the mountain and have lunch up there, or let's go for a play of tennis like we did, a game of tennis like we did today. And guess what happens? There's no anxiety, there's no stress. Then the grades, everyone that I've interviewed, teachers, students, and parents who do distance education, the grades go up because all of a sudden they don't have all of the distractions that go on in a classroom. What happens when you're in a classroom, you're trying to pay attention to the teacher and all the kids are, giggling or passing little notes or throwing something, or what it's like, just teasing. And so you just miss what the teacher said. And guess what? The teacher is not going to have the time or the willingness to see you privately after to get you caught up with whatever you missed during the class. But with distance education, you just watch a video that the teacher recorded for you in a professional studio. And if you don't understand the lesson, no problem. You watch it again and you watch it again until you get it. And if you still don't get it, you have the teachers available to you from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. where you can either call them on the phone, do a video call on the computer, or email them. And they're available to you one-on-one. So it's like private tutoring without the fees of doing private tutoring, right? So we used to have a maths private teacher, but now we no longer need him because she gets the one-on-one support from the teachers at distance education. Isn't that amazing? And of course, it means we can get to travel as long as she has her computer and internet connection. We're in business, just like me. She watches mommy, run her business from anywhere and everywhere. As long as I have internet connection, my phone, my computer, sometimes some lighting, we are in business. That's the beauty of it. And so now it's so cool because I was saying to her, Daddy, many students finish high school and they go to university and they get completely lost. It's a shock to the system because in high school, they're still being chased to be in the classroom and they're still on top of them and they're still being babysat and hand holding and all of that. Then they get to university where there's no one there to tap you on the shoulder and they don't know how to organize their time. They don't know how to be responsible to show up to the lessons and do their work, etc., arrange their calendar. Excuse me. So, and they just quit or they fail. And so imagine her at 13, she's already learning all of those skills because it's up to her to organize her week. All I did was teach her how to connect the MacBook Air, the computer, with the phone so she could connect the calendars. And I taught her how to use the Google Calendar. And that's it. So she gets to organize if she wants to do science all day today and not touch maths until tomorrow, or whether today she wants to do a bit of maths and a bit of well-being and a bit of IT and a bit of science. It's up to her. She wants to do 6 hours today and then just 2 tomorrow, or if she wants to do a full 8 hours, not do anything tomorrow. It's up to her if she wants to do a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening. So it is empowering her already to be self-sufficient, to be self-reliant, to be responsible, to know how to organize her time, her itinerary, and her calendar, and her roster for the day. As long as she's on top of it by Friday, everything is good. So her grades are going up. She's like, Mom, I love maths now because I understand the teachers so well. And, as I said, we get to spend a lot of quality time, and we get to have lunch together. We have a chef that brings our meals, and it's just amazing. So, and she doesn't have the anxiety of school. She's not getting her self-esteem beaten up at school by other, colleagues and students and friends and teachers or whatever. So I just think it's the best experience. She's loving it. We, the parents, are loving it. Life is good, man. And I love that she's doing so many sports and having a social life with the friends that she likes. And I think it's the best thing that we could have done. But that's besides the point. What I want to talk to you is about the whole fixed and growth mindset. So what's the difference between fixed and growth? What happens in the old days? Okay, the very old days, perhaps our grandparents grew up in a time where the parents used to go, you're not good enough, you'll never amount to anything. Oh my God, you're so dumb, you're this, you're that. And they literally physically beat them up and all of that, right? That was our grandparents, maybe some of our parents, depending how old you are. And then it evolved into the time where they were telling us, you tell your kid that she's amazing, that she's smart, that she's this, that she's that. And that is a fixed mindset. Because if you keep telling a child, you're smart, you're amazing, you're successful, you're this, they somehow feel like they should know it all, which means there's no room for error. There's no room for mistakes. And what happens as they make a mistake, which is part of life, they really beat themselves up. Because now they start to lose their self-esteem because they're looking for approval of others. And because if they're smart and they're, successful and sexy and beautiful and amazing and all of those things, well, they should know it all. And so what happens when they don't get the result? Oh my God, it really crushes their self-esteem. They put themselves down and they feel like losers because they are supposed to just be amazing and know it all, right? And so then we evolve. So stage one was when your parents used to beat you up, you're not good enough, you'll never amount to anything, blah, blah, blah. Then it evolved into stage two, where, it was the opposite. Oh my God, you are a winner, you're smart, you this, you that. So, and now stage three has evolved into rewarding the effort, not the result. So when my kids, for example, get a really good grade or did really well in sports, I don't say you're amazing or you're so smart or whatever. I say you're so resourceful, you figure out the way. Or you should be really proud of your effort. I never say I'm really proud of you. Why? Because that wires them for external approval. And if you grow up needing that external approval, guess what? When someone doesn't tell you you're amazing, you did great, I'm impressed, wow, you're this, you're that, all of a sudden you feel worthless, right? And so you are constantly doing things just to please others so that you can get the recognition and you can get to hear that you're amazing and that you did so well and all of that. When all of that should be coming from the inside, not from the outside, so that you never have to need it, so that you're not running around like a puppy dog, trying to be liked and pleasing everyone just so that you can get that external recognition. So when I learned that, thank God, in probably 10 years ago, when I first did UPW with Tony Robbins, my kids were very little, thank God, because I was already doing that thing with my oldest daughter, Alana, because she was already 3 years old. I was already doing that thing of, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're this, you're that. And then thank God I learned the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So I started to shift the way that I encourage her, the way that I empower her, and the way I communicated with her. And then I had Bree, who is now 10, so she was a baby. And so, for example, when they were learning to ride their bikes, and they finally did it, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that's because you're so smart, I'm so proud of you. No, I would be like, you know what? You must be so proud of yourself because you never gave up. You were determined. You kept going. So I would highlight the qualities, right? It wasn't about, oh, you were just smart, you knew how to do it. No, it was about you never gave up. You were perseverant. You were determined. You kept going and going and going. Even if you fell and scraped your knee or bled your knee and you were crying, you didn't give up. You kept going and you did it and your effort paid off. What does it feel like to be such a big success? Again, when I ask them that question, what does it feel like to be such a big success? I'm asking them so they can go in to checking with themselves. Oh, yeah, how do I feel about that? That's true. I was very resourceful. I was very determined. I was very persistent. I kept going. I was very resilient. How do I feel about it? See, so it's these little small changes, like Tony Robbins talks about the 2 millimeter change, right? It's the small changes that make the biggest difference. So when I do that, I'm encouraging them to go inwards and check with themselves so that they can realize that's true. I was resourceful. I was persistent. I didn't give up. How do I feel about that? So that they're not looking for the external recognition. They learn to find it within themselves and connect with it. And now it's amazing because whenever they do something good, they'll say, Mom, I'm so proud of myself for being so resourceful. And I love that because think about it. The word smart implies you know it all, you're a genius. Or the word genius implies you know it all, you're a genius, right? But when you say you must be so proud of your efforts, you must be so proud of how hard you work for it. What does that imply? It's like, do more of it. That's great. You have to work hard. That's a really good thing. You know, it's okay if you fell down and made a mistake and scraped your knee. You just keep going and going. What happens when you say, you know, you must be so proud of being so persistent? It's like, oh yeah, I didn't give up. I kept going. What about when you say resourceful? I love the word resourceful. Resourceful implies you don't need to know what to do. You don't need to have it all. You don't need to be a genius. It means you need to be resourceful within yourself to figure out the way to do it or to get the resources or to put yourself in the situation or to create the circumstances that will bring the desired outcome that you're after, right? So resourceful is a word that we use a lot here at home with my family, with my kids, that we utilize with each other. And they also hear me because we're role models, whether it's for your employees, for your staff, for your team, for your clients, for your kids. You are being a role model every moment of your life because there's always people around you watching you, listening, mimicking, right? So I couldn't say that to my kids if I don't do the same. I couldn't have a drink of soft drink and then tell them, drink water, don't drink soft drink because it's not good for you, right? But they're watching me drink a soft drink. No, they see me drinking water. They see me drinking celery juice. They see me drinking my wheatgrass, organic wheatgrass green drink. So guess what? Inevitably, one morning, my daughter Lana, she was probably 5, we were still in Melbourne, and she's like, Mom, can I have one of those green drinks? You know, I never tried to push her down. I never tried to offer it. She watched me drinking it. So all of a sudden, she wanted to have some. And these days, she has her hot mug of wheatgrass, organic wheatgrass, green drink with me in the mornings, you know. The little one loves her cold water. But guess what? We don't have juices like processed juices. We have our chef makes freshly squeezed celery juice, freshly squeezed orange juice. But, you know, we don't have bottled juices that many parents give to little kids and they're full of sugar. We don't have soft drinks in my house. I don't think I even have alcohol in my house unless I'm going to have a party or there's going to be friends. I don't even really keep it. And, you know, they're watching all of that every day. And so it's the same with me. When I do something good, they watch me pat my own shoulder and go, I'm so proud of myself. Well done, Sam. You know, you did it. And so they watch me and then they do the same. Or if I'm walking past a mirror, I'll be like, hey, well done. I'm so proud of you today. You know, when I'm talking to myself. So they do the same. I was, as I said, playing tennis with Alana just before it. You know, when I managed to keep going the ball for 2, 3, 4 hits, I would be like, well done to myself. And then she would be like, well done to herself every time we hit the ball. But it's something, it's repetition, right? I remember my little girl, Brie, when she was learning to ride a bike a few years ago. And she would be like, oh, it's so hard, blah, blah, blah. And then I would be Remember how you learn? Repetition. You do it again and again and again until you get it. And she's like, oh, yeah, mom. So it was great because when she would come from school doing maths or whatever and she couldn't do it, I would be like, oh, Brie, what do you need to do? And she would be like, oh, yeah, mom, I need to practice and practice and practice. And so she soon learned that you can become good at anything. You're not born being good at things. You're not supposed to just be smart and a genius. That you can become good at anything you put your mind to if you just do enough repetition, practice and practice and practice and immerse yourself, right? Because otherwise you forget it. I mean, like when you learn a language and then you never practice it for years. When you grow up, you forgot the language. But what happens if you immerse yourself? If you fly to Mexico or Spain or Italy to learn the language and you spend 3 months there, even without a teacher, without a coach, just immersing yourself into the language around, that'll be enough for you to learn it really well, right? Same like swimming. You can't become good at swimming just because you read a book or just because someone tells you what to do. You got to jump in the pool and do it and practice and practice and practice. And that's how you become good, right? What does Michael Jordan say? How many thousands of balls he missed? That's the only way he became good, right? They just talk about the success and all the balls he did get in. But what about all the balls he did not get in? Tony Robbins says, and I love this, you get rewarded in public for the things that you practice in private. So every time that you hear, oh, such and such person became an overnight success, it's like, oh no, they have thousands of hours behind of practice and practice and practice. You get rewarded publicly for the things that you do privately. So what kind of mindset do you have? If you grew up in a fixed mindset, I strongly encourage you, become aware. It's never too late to shift it into a growth mindset. And a growth mindset allows you to fail, allows you to make mistakes, allows you to fall, allows you to scrape yourself and bleed. And it's okay because it's about the effort. It's about the discipline of repetition and practice and keep going. And you'll eventually become good at anything you want if you just keep going. So the fixed mindset, you'll feel defeated if you don't get it the first time and you'll be like, oh, I'm a loser. I can't do it. And, I'm done with it. So what kind of mindset do you want to have from now on? What kind of mindset do you think you've had so far and you would like to have? And not only that, most importantly, when you become aware, it's really exciting because now you can use all of your encouragement, all of your empowerment, all of your vocabulary towards others, whether they're your team, whether they're your employees, your staff, your colleagues, your clients, your kids, your loved ones, your partner. You can use encouraging, empowering vocabulary that is growth mindset, not fixed. And that when you see them, they fail or they got embarrassed and they did something wrong, you can recognize them and tell them, wow, you must be so proud of your effort. Wow, you must be so proud of how resourceful you are. Wow, you must be so proud of how determined you are not giving up, right? And how do you think they're going to feel? Like, oh yeah, actually I am very proud of myself for not giving up, even though I suck at tennis, but I didn't give up. I kept going, right? So what is the little shift that you can take today to go from a fixed to a growth mindset? And this is just a tiny little taste because we're going to delve into it way, way deeper at Unleash the Power Within Virtual, UPW Virtual, which is a 360-degree life experience with the man, the legend himself, Tony Robbins, from the comfort of your home, 22nd to 26th of October, UPW Virtual, anywhere you are in the world, you can join for a tiny, tiny portion of the price that you would normally pay to go and do it in person. So if you haven't registered yet, go get your ticket, bringthefreedom.com. Bringthefreedom.com. You'll see the link below. Go and get your ticket because it's just around the corner. It's a couple of weeks away and I'm very excited. I look forward to seeing you there. And until then, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow here, same place, same time. On behalf of Success Resources, Tony Robbins, and myself, Sandra Bravo, signing off from Gold Coast in Australia. Live with passion, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.